video games, they represent something intrinsically important to the human experience, which is connectivity. Recognizing that and developing an industry with that in mind means that either some of those people don't have to go through it alone, or that it's not another aspect of themselves or their personality that helps marginalize them.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win, we come to fly. This is where we make our dreams come to life. Welcome to Innovation City.
Welcome to Innovation City, a podcast featuring the innovators, disruptors, and creators who are making things happen today. My name is Michael T. Johnson. I'm here with my co-host Tyler Kelly, and we are in St. Louis tonight with Venture Cafe St. Louis at the Donald Danforth Plant Science Center at 39 Norths. So we're very happy to be here tonight. We're also very happy to have Brandon Curry with us tonight as our guest.
That's me. What's going on, guys?
All right, so for everybody listening in, let me tell you a little bit about Brandon before we jump into the conversation. Brandon's a world traveler. You've pretty much been all over the world, and
I still got Antarctica to check off, but
that's the only continent you haven't been on?
Yeah, the rest of the continents
Wow.
I've got checked.
And you're SLU grad.
Yep.
You went
Times
away
3, I think,
to New York for some portion of grad school, but then you came back.
Yeah, did forensic linguistics in grad school.
Okay. And you tried your hand at all this like education startup stuff, and it just wasn't for you.
Yeah, I mean, that is just such a difficult business to crack. And when you don't know anything going into it, like as your first startup, you're in for a rude awakening.
Yeah. But then you came across esports, and you're the founder of Moonbase Market, which is the first esports arena. Yeah,
my partner Justin Strom and I came together about a year ago. My whole concept was that you can take really synergistic business enterprises like a retail game store, the e-commerce aspect of that game store, which is really one of the few ways to kind of survive if you're going to up your overhead a little bit and provide something really nice to your local gamers. I can finally announce at this point that Earthbound Brewing is opening their second location, Earthbound Satellite, on our premises at the Moonbase, 1921 South 9th, this Saturday, actually. And Moonbase Studio is operating out of the second floor. They do commercial photography and videography and all that. So it was definitely a long road to get there and took a lot of detours, but it's a really cool thing.
Tell me about esports. Did you just see the opportunity? Because obviously, like, esports is the biggest thing ever in terms of like viewership and the potential. Or do you have did you grow up a gamer? It's like a passion for esports. Tell me all about that.
So I did. I grew up a gamer. I have not been a gamer for a long time, so I'm kind of faking it a little bit. But in 2006, 2007, I was a semi-professional Halo 2 player with MLG back when Major League Gaming, when they did Halo as their flagship game. And so that's been quite a while since then. But I grew up playing games from my 5th birthday when I got a Sega Genesis until probably like sophomore year of college when I had to make a choice between video games or 21 credit hours, and I chose school.
Before we get too deep into the business and life aspects, we got to just talk favorite games. We got to do some nostalgia, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say this was my favorite game, but I did play a lot of Halo 1 and Halo 2 in college.
Yeah.
And I was no, not even close. I am a notoriously bad video game player.
So I had quit playing games by that point, but let's go back to the Sega Genesis era.
Yeah.
What were you playing back then?
I would have to say that in terms of low replayability, Cool Spot, the 7-Up sponsored game, love that. It was a surprisingly good game. But Sonic 2 was probably, I think, the best thing that Sega Genesis put out. Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
So my favorite game, I bought a Sega Dreamcast for like $30 from somebody, and somebody had given me a pirated copy the disc that had every NES game ever made on the disc. So you could go and you could just play all day. But I don't even remember the name of my favorite game, but it was like there was a night and he'd go in this underground layer and
Super Ghouls and Goblins.
It had a lot of Baroque music in it, though. Is that it?
Super Ghouls and Goblins is dope.
Okay.
It was on Super Nintendo. If we were talking about Super Nintendo, that'd be my pick.
This is the original NES.
Oh, then Ghouls and Goblins.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was it, but
I'm going to go out on a limb and say, yeah, you got it.
A lot.
Excellent taste.
See, I was just a Madden guy. I just played, or like back in the NES days, like Double Dribble. I was a king at Double Dribble.
When it came to Madden, I was always very upset that Hail Mary didn't work every time, and then so I just put it down. That was the end of my Madden playing experience. Played Madden 2005 like for 15 minutes, and I was over it.
Done.
Yeah.
See, I was always just finished with trying to like break through walls for hours. I was like, I'm done.
So let's go back to that esports topic because I think that's a pretty fascinating topic.
Yeah.
Because if you would go back in time 5 or 10 years, you would think that it was crazy that you could have a lucrative career as like an esports athlete or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and I think that's something that kind of gives. I don't want to say gamer because I'm not. That would be disingenuous. But somebody who grew up around the gaming community and dabbled in the competitive nature and traveling to events, we knew the entire time that it was going to blow up and that it was going to be big. It was 2006 when in Halo, 5 of the top pros each got $250,000 contracts to play for 3 years for MLG, and that was something that didn't quite hit Investopedia or Forbes or Business Insider. But that kind of money was being thrown around at that point in time. MLG got a $25 million venture capital investing, VC investment, and that was 12 years ago at this point. And so one of the things that's interesting to look at is just where the current professional gamers and like the venture capital, private equity folks diverge. And I really think that it's, thanks to Amazon Prime or Amazon and then buying Twitch, that this became something that became apparent to the wide audience, the wide market. Now, you see Ninja and Drake streaming to, 200,000 people, 350,000 people, and like that, that was its capstone moment where it's officially here, it's in the market. My partners and I knew that was going to happen. We knew that there was a 2 to 3 year window to be able to create a brand, get recognition, do things really well, and when rising stars like Ninja or whoever it is who's creating gaming content come on and then just like hit superstar status, because new games come out every month or two. When they come out, then you already have a platform to deliver similar content that is produced at your predetermined levels of quality. And it's not something I believe you're going to be able to do in 2, 3, or 4 years even.
So are there like esports arenas all over the country, or is this like one of the first? Or how's that work?
I don't want to self-aggrandize too much at all. There are few esports arenas. Most of them are overseas. The industry leaders has been and will be for the foreseeable future South Korea, followed kind of closely by Japan. China just invested in a massive esports stadium, but the network in the United States it's mostly homegrown. So you're going to see it in cities like Chicago. I think Dallas either has one or there are. I think it's Mark Cuban has plans for a $10 or $25 million esports stadium, and it's definitely something that you're going to see pretty soon in the near future. Yeah.
I'm just kind of fascinated by the audience for this thing. Like, because if I think back to my childhood, I'm an oldest of 3 kids, so I made my younger brother watch me play video games a lot. I don't know what the connection to that is, but I'm just curious, like, this audience fascinates me. Like, what is it about all this that makes people so drawn to it?
once again, I say this is all positing theories because I'm not an expert, but think about how much time it takes to be LeBron James and the natural skills that it takes to be him. And a lot of people would dispute that that's the same case for esports athletes, but there are, certain reaction time skills and just motor skills and critical thinking skills that it takes that mean that some people can't participate at the highest level. And what they do with the limited resources they have in the game and the limited time frame is nothing short of remarkable, and it's something that you can't do without those natural skills and you can't do without the time to dedicate to it. And so what you're watching is what everybody watches when they watch sports, is you're watching somebody be great. You're watching somebody be great in an environment that is appealing to you. A lot of people play video games, and now I think we're kind of transitioning to, or at least we're kind of creating a new crowd of people who enjoyed video games, like myself, and just want to still be a part of that, but not put in the time and effort it takes to spawn, move 15 feet, and then die, and be like, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
It's why we watch professional basketball. Yeah.
So take me to just like your outlook for like the business side of the esports arena.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you're NBA. You've tried your hands at different startups, and they weren't right for you. And now this is something that you're like, this is right. Why is it right? Tell me from the business perspective.
In terms of the business, it's just an advertising platform. It's the same thing as any of the other professional sports we just mentioned. And if what you're doing is creating viewership, you're making your business better. And I don't think that I'm particularly uniquely suited to do it. I think that there are other people out there who are great at it, former players, people with MBAs who are really great at marketing. I just happen to be a weird kind of Venn diagram of those two who had an idea and was able to move forward with it and make it happen, and had some really good friends who were like, hey, we'd love to put a bar in the venue. Like, we think that that'd be great. Or, yeah, we would love to do the photography and videography in a studio kind of on site. I have a high demand for quality of production and for, understanding our market and being on target with branding and a message and a voice. And I think that's something that an individual who's just hopping on their PC or their Xbox and uploading or streaming their games to YouTube doesn't necessarily have. It's them with the backdrop of their room. But there are so many different ways that you could go with the quality of production and engaging your audience. Very traditional marketing tactics like giveaways and sweepstakes and bringing people on who want to be a part of what you've created.
So all those pieces are leading to something. Like, where are you headed with all this?
We're headed to a piece of real estate, essentially. We're headed towards a brand that people find fun and enjoyable and is visually appealing, that they can relate to the commentators, that they know that we're there and we produce something adjacent to their interests, that the recommended videos or recommended channels says us because other people who've been watching content before have gone there and then hit that subscribe button because they enjoy it. And I don't want to say that that's where it ends for us, but that's a very, very daunting task. YouTube is very flooded. Twitch is very flooded. There's so much competition for those eyeballs being on your product that I don't want to kind of hypothesize and think about the strictures of what we're going to do once we capture that audience, because capturing that audience is an immensely difficult challenge.
Well, I think you're onto something just in terms of quality.
Yeah.
Because what we've seen just in video itself is that because, it's pretty much free to produce video at this point via your phone or your computer, and it's free to put it out there. And there's billions of videos that maybe people don't even see ever.
Yeah.
And the only way to get people to build an audience is to differentiate from all of that. And in the esports, in the gaming arena, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I think you're onto something with the quality.
I like to think so too. And it's something like I feel like, I'm onto something because it's what I look for. There's so many times that I've gotten interested in something that I found on YouTube and, it ended because there's only so many hours that are available. And then I go to find things that are similar to it. I found this one thing. Great. Watch the 10 episodes of that or the 20 episodes of that. And after that, it gets to be kind of a slog. And so that's where your marketing comes in, your brand recognition comes in. And if I get to that point and say, you've got the marketing, you've got the brand recognition, and the quality isn't there, whether it's audio or just not interesting, I'm like, I guess I'm done with this phase of my YouTube viewing or whatever it is.
So, because I don't know, and I don't know if the listening audience or viewing audience will know, are there commentators out there? Like, is it kind of like, what I'm relating it to is maybe like the Poker World Series or like the MMA, like, there's like this definite personality of commentary.
There's almost nothing separating I'll say the sports at this time.
Okay.
These competitions, it's there's a model that works, and esports adopted it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So if, let's say I want to get started today.
Yeah. Good luck.
In esports or wherever, like, where do I start?
From a competitor side or from...
Maybe just getting into the industry.
Yeah, let's just say I want to start a channel and whatever.
I would say don't. It requires an immense amount of industry knowledge. You probably wouldn't get, if like biotech or material science takes off as the next thing, that's probably not something you're going to get into unless you're on a financing team, right? And that's the same thing with esports. It takes so much like industry background knowledge and a really solid network of people who are going to come to bat for you and who are going to be very, very kind with helping you produce content for free in the beginning and getting the word out there to the rest of their networks and social circles. I think your return on investment would be immensely higher in just about any other field than getting into into esports. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times that's generally what people say about entrepreneurship and in general, because the stats are kind of stacked against it.
Yeah.
But I mean, with all that advice, like, what is it that makes you want to pursue that?
I like that I know who I was when I was playing video games and why I was playing them. And that's the guy I'm rooting for a little bit. There is an entire generation of people who grew up and used gaming for a variety of purposes, whether it was to facilitate social interaction by having people come over to their house and playing these games, or because this was the substitute for not having access to that. Video games, they represent something intrinsically important to the human experience, which is connectivity. Like I said, whether you're bringing your friends over or you're meeting your friends through that platform, it does something really important to people. And recognizing that and developing an industry with that in mind means that either some of those people don't have to go through it alone, or that it's not another aspect of themselves or their personality that helps marginalize them. And thankfully, we're at a point where I believe that we're really cresting that hill.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point, because I think a lot of times people view technology or gaming or, a lot of the things that we're experiencing today as something that isolates people. But you're really saying that it brings people together and can potentially build great communities.
I'd be interested to see whether dating apps or video games bring more people together. I'm almost certain it's video games, but it's probably the number one thing bringing people together, other than like public school education system.
If you play that out, like, what are some like maybe surprising things that you think you can accomplish through gaming along those lines?
I haven't seen or heard of a dating app based on playing video games together, but that would be a really interesting concept.
Yeah, and I'm just speaking of
all right, we're gonna
gaming in general, not necessarily the dating idea.
No, for sure. But I can't really say. I think it's doing its own thing. I don't know that it needs to be different than what it currently is, or that it's getting bigger and it's going to continue to get bigger, but I don't. That's something that's beyond my pay grade to anticipate, I would say.
So the Moonbase, 5 years from now, what's the vision?
To be one of those esports brands, to be a kind of parallel player with ESPN, have a 24-hour sports network for esports. The ESPN kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That would be incredible. And we're definitely not even close to there right now. And it's one of those things where there's always such a high learning curve when you're treading into unknown territory. And so even my standards of quality, we don't always get to meet, and punctuality and marketing and branding, you have to figure all that out on your own. So getting there in 5 years, fingers crossed, but that's because some really significantly capable people crossed our paths and recognized what we were trying to do and said, let's join forces. But there's definitely a market for that and a space for that. So the hope and the goal is that we are the people filling that space. Yeah.
It's amazing. I think that's a
lofty
that's an interesting
goal,
lofty goal, but I think
yeah.
One worth chasing.
I certainly think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, tell us and the audience where we can find you. Where do we find you online?
Yeah. So if you want to catch up on some of these clips of the esports that we've been doing, the best way to do it is to go to Twitch and find us at Moonbase Market. If you are into Magic the Gathering or any other collectible card games or just generally gaming retail, go to www.moonbasemarket.com, and our entire inventory is available there online. You can use store credit to buy your stuff. We've got, I don't want to be hyperbolic, I think we've got the best single selection of Magic the Gathering and all that stuff in St. Louis. On our website, you can pick it up in store. And if you are somebody who used to play Magic the Gathering or Pokemon, you're trying to turn that into some cash, bring your stuff into the store. Our professional graders will determine the value of your collection. We'll pay you either cash or give you credit for your collection, which is how we fuel our entire operation. And if you want to get credit for it, you'll get a nice little bump, and we can print off some tickets for you. You can take it on over to the bar, and they accept those as currency. So if you want to turn a shoebox full of cardboard into a drinking tab for the next 3 months, I believe that we are the best organization suited to do that, at least in the St. Louis area.
Yeah. I know some people I need to tell about that.
Yeah. I'd send them our way. We're over at 1921 South 9th Street. caddy corner from 1860 Saloon and Molly's. We're across the parking lot from them in Soulard. And it's a really cool neighborhood and got some really cool people there. It's been exciting to get this started and see how fast it's taken off.
That's amazing. So, Brandon, it's been a pleasure having you, learning about all these things going on that I didn't even know were going on close to here. So thank you for sharing your time with us.
Absolutely.
For more episodes, visit innovationcity.co. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. And if you're in St. Louis, visit us on a Thursday night. Details at vincafstl.org. And connect with us on social at We Are Slam or at Venture Cafe STL. Thanks for listening.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they